This is BBC Tees.
A red car man has written a play about the steel strike in 1980. Alan Spence is on the lookout for actors who can take part and is holding auditions next week. Alan joins us now this morning. Alan, a steel strike in 1980? I was but just a lad back then. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, obviously, I think a lot of people have forgotten about it. We've recently had the anniversary of Mrs. Thatcher and the 25th anniversary of the miners' strike. But in reality, the Tories were planning to take on public sector workers as far back as 1976. There was a Ridley report which set out a game plan in which to isolate workers, to go for the soft touch, which the steel workers were, you see. And lots of people, even local people, used to consider that people who worked in nationalised industries were lazy and ineffective and costing the taxpayer money. And on the basis of that, when BSC offered the workers, I think, 2 to 3%, at the time when inflation was sort of 17%, you can understand why people felt aggrieved and wanted to go on strike.
You took part in the strike, didn't you?
I did indeed, yes. I used to work at Redcar Coke Ovens, and because of what I've just said, that was one of the reasons why I supported the strike and felt that, and obviously the spectre of Mrs. Thatcher was beginning to emerge, and I think at the time we felt that we could win something, but I just didn't think we realised the machinery that was against us.
It's not the most famous event of the 80s, is it? However, having said that, now we're talking about it, there will be people listening to this who think, oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, it's funny, the people that we've talked to on a number of levels have memories of it. I mean, one lady I spoke to said, well, I don't remember much about it. I wasn't really that affected. Mind you, I didn't have any money for 13 weeks. And I said, there you go. There's a story. Other people had to spend less on their weddings. And in fact, one lady talked about she just qualified as a teacher and remembered having to buy groceries for the family because the dad wasn't bringing any money in. And so these are real hardships. And if you actually go into the story, there are people who either took redundancy like myself or were made redundant and have never really recovered. And obviously, we don't compare with the miners' strike, but I think certainly local people need a sense of history, as we do nationally. And bearing in mind it was the first national strike in the industry for 28 years, I think there's a time to redress the balance.
Is it hard to try and find actors for this? Because this is what we're looking for. You're holding auditions next week.
Yeah, it has. I think because there's quite a lot going on locally, that there's so many amateur companies and stuff, and people have been interested, but are either in production this week or next week. And so that's one of the reasons why we're very grateful for opportunities like yourself. And I am putting an advert in the local Gazette on Friday and Saturday. And the auditions are the 12th and 13th of next week at Saltburn Community Hall in the Coffee Room. So,
basically, just turn up.
Yep, just turn up. It's an open audition. Right. Obviously, you will be allowed to read the script. If people wanted to contact me, I can actually send them samples of the scripts that they might be interested in. Could I give you my email?
Yeah, go on.
Yep, it's Theatre is Real Life, which is all one word, at live.co.uk.
Okay, well, I've made a note of that as well.
That's
so if anybody wants to have a go at those auditions, 12th and 13th at Saltburn Community Centre, isn't it? Yeah?
That's right, in the coffee room, the community hall, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to go along, 12th and 13th next week, what time?
It's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay, in the evening, obviously.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody turning up there first thing in the morning,
No.
otherwise we'll have a long wait.
Indeed.
It's good to talk to you. We'll see what happens with that. And you've got another project which you're going to be doing as well soon.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Are we talking about the football play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I first put the project to Anthony Emerson, who was the manager of the Middlesbrough Enterprise Academy, and he thought it was great because they do a lot of work with schools and in terms of health and business, and he thought it was a great idea to get schools involved. So when we finish the Steelworks play, I'll be contacting schools with a similar thing, and again, trying to get people's experiences. The basic outline of that play is, obviously in 1986 we nearly went bust for the sake of £35,000, I understand, courtesy of Dickens, who were then the sponsors. And then the second half brings us to 2004 with the first piece of silverware, possibly the only piece we're ever going to get at this rate. But and again, we'll be looking to schools. One of the joys of this particular project is that it's sort of based on I don't know if you're familiar with a football play called Zigga-Zagga, which has a lot of people in the crowd. So there's football chanting and there's songs which sort of complement and contrast the action on stage.
Right.
So initially it starts off with the business problem for the club and people leaving school in 1986. It's very much a young person's play as well. And then looking at them later on in life, in 2004 and onwards, how have they coped, what's happened to them. So it'll be a way to continue the story as well as against the backdrop of the football club.
So it follows it all the way along. It sounds fascinating. And come on, live in hope. There will be more silverware. Alan, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. 12th and 13th at Saltburn in the Community Centre next week for those auditions about that play, about the strike in 1980.